Hi, Auntie Gayle here. Last time we talked about budgeting. Today, I want to talk about saving. So let me just get in a few laps as I train for this mini triathlon, and then we'll talk. So hit the subscribe button below and come on the go with Auntie Gayle for finance, food, and fitness. It's not how much money you make, it's how much money you keep from what you make. Today, we talk about saving, keeping your money. Financial planning and your way to your financial freedom, of course, starts with savings. Now, when I ask young people, do you save? Most times they say, I don't have enough money to save. Sometimes they say, yes, I do save. And when I ask them, what are they saving for? They usually tell me I'm saving for a car, a down payment on a house, I want to travel. And those are all great goals. But this video is really for those of you who say you don't save. And I have to help you find a way so that you can save. Savings are derived from your income minus your expenses. So what we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about your income, how you could increase it if you don't have enough to save. And we're going to talk about your expenses. How can you reduce it if you don't have enough to save? So if you increase your income and reduce your expenses, you should have enough to save, correct? Okay, let's start with your income. You have to look at ways to increase your income. What can you do to increase your income? Well, you can turn a hobby or a skill into some sort of money-making venture. I'll give you a good example. I love to take photographs. I've been taking photographs my whole life. So I became a wedding photographer and I made a lot of money doing wedding photographs. If you can sew, you can probably use that to earn income. One of my nieces, she sews really well and she started making beach wraps. She put it up on Instagram, she got a lot of orders and she made a lot of extra income making beach wraps and selling it on Instagram. You can do something like that. So don't be limited by your paycheck or your current income. Try and turn one of your hobbies or your skills into an income generating, revenue generating idea. So, okay, we found ways we can increase our income. Now let's look at your expenses. How can you reduce your expenses? I know for me, I shop way too much. So a good way to reduce my expenses is just stop going to the mall. Every time I go into a store, I have to walk out with something. So my closet is full of things that I don't even use. And that could have been in my bank account. So you know yourself, you know how you waste money. Some people just buy a lot of makeup. So their counter is filled with makeup that they don't use. Some people spend excess money every day buying a cup of coffee even. That costs a lot of money. So look at ways, you know your spending habits, you know there are ways that you can cut back, and look at ways to cut back and reduce your expenses so that you have more to save. Now this is critical. If you don't save, if you spend mindlessly, you'll never have enough saved to be able to achieve some of your goals and some of your objectives. All right, so let's say you found ways to save. The first thing I want you to do is to start saving to what I call a crunch fund. What's a crunch fund? A crunch fund is a fund where you would go to if you're in a crunch. Let's say your car breaks down. You need to buy new tires or you need to fix something on your car. You go to your crunch fund. That's what a crunch fund is for, when you're in a crunch. So you're saving $1,000 towards that crunch fund. Your next step of savings is your emergency fund. Now your emergency fund should really be 6 months minimum of your expenses. Not 6 months of your income, 6 months of your expenses. So I want you to save enough so that you have 6 months of your expenses in your emergency fund. So now you really have two funds that you're saving towards. One is your crunch fund. That's going to be $1,000. That's for short emergencies, small emergencies. And then you're saving in an emergency fund which should be about 6 months of your expenses, and that's for big emergencies. When I say a big emergency, let's say you lose your job. A lot of people during the pandemic lost their jobs. If you didn't have an emergency fund right away from your next paycheck that you're not going to get, you're in trouble. But if you had that 6 months cushion of expenses, you will be able to ride it out until you can find something else to get more income coming in. So having an emergency fund is really something that you really need to look at. So after you've saved in your crunch fund and you save for your emergency fund, all your savings now is going to go towards achieving your goals. Is it travel? Is it down payment on a house? Is it to purchase a car? Are those some of your goals? Then you need to save towards those goals. You will want to always have enough money to jump on every opportunity that might present itself. Because when you meet opportunity, you want to be able to use it to create wealth. What do I mean by opportunities? You may, for example, have an opportunity to buy a house. In one of my videos, I talked about me buying a house at age 28. And I did it because I had the opportunity. I always had the habit of savings. And one of my co-workers came to me and said, you know, I was going to buy this house and the deal fell through. Are you interested? I had savings. I was able to go and I was able to purchase the house. Now, a trick that I'm going to tell some of you young people is the best time to start to save is when you're still living at home. I'll say it again. The best time to start to save is while you're still living at home, because most of your expenses are being met by your parents. So if you're working and you're still at home, save as much as you can. That's what I was doing. So I had enough savings, and when this opportunity came around to put a down payment and to purchase a house, I jumped on it. So I was able to purchase the house and rent it out, and I never paid a cent in mortgage. My tenant paid the mortgage, and I got a little extra for myself every month, and I'm still living at home. So I have a property, which is an asset. The property is growing in value as time goes on, plus the tenant is paying the mortgage and reducing the loan that I had and increasing my equity. So young people, don't miss this opportunity. You won't always have that opportunity. You're living at home. All the income you earn, make sure and save. The goal is to try to get to saving at least 20% of all your income. The goal is to get to the point where you can save at least 20% of all your income. If you make $100, save 20 of it. You're not going to miss $20. As a matter of fact, a good rule of thumb is what they call pay yourself first. What does that mean? It means when you're getting a regular paycheck, you have your employer send 20% of your paycheck into a different account from the account that you use to meet all your expenses. So you're paying yourself first, which is your savings. It goes somewhere where you can't touch it, and the rest goes into your regular bank account that you use regularly, and you spend from that. You won't even miss that 20%. Another trick, whenever you get a raise, don't start to spend your raise, send the entire raise towards your savings. Because you're living comfortably on what you were earning before, now that you get a raise, just continue living as you were. What you'll find is every time your income goes up, your expenditure tends to go up to meet your income. You have to break that trap. If you're making income and you're living comfortably, you get a raise, save the entire raise. Because you want to have some money set aside to be able to jump on any opportunity that presents itself. That is how you create wealth. Okay, I want to give you an example of how you can organize your savings. Let's say you're saving $600 a month, okay? How should you save it? Well, here is a strategy you can use. Save $250 every month and let that go towards your crunch fund. Save $200 a month and let that go towards your emergency fund. Then you have $50 a month going towards each of your goals. Goal 1, $50. Goal 2, $50. Goal 3, $50. In month 5, you would have saved enough to meet your crunch fund. So you would have $1,000. So now that money that you were saving towards your crunch fund, you now transfer it to your emergency fund. So now you're saving $450 for your emergency fund. So from month 5, you switch, you stop saving for your crunch fund because you've already met the $1,000 threshold, and now you save $450 towards your emergency fund. And you continue with the $50 for goal 1, $50 for goal 2, and $50 for goal 3. So you save until the end of the year. So at the end of the year, this is what your savings will be. You'll have $1,000 in your crunch fund. You'll have $4,400 in your emergency fund. You'll have $600 in each of your goal funds. So you'll have a total of $7,200 in savings. Now, if I ask you right now, do you have $7,200 in savings? Do you even have $1,000 in savings for your crunch fund? Probably not. But if you organize the way you save, you will have that amount by the end of the year. So that is just an example of how you can save $600 a month and set it towards your goals. In year 2, using that same method, you will have $14,400. So you'll have, again, same $1,000 in your crunch fund. You'll have $9,800 in your emergency fund. And in each of your goal funds, you will have $1,200 each. After year 3, you would have $21,600 using that same method. So the goal is to try and build those savings. Don't touch it. You build those savings year after year, so where you have a sizable amount of money in your accounts. Now, next time we're going to talk about investing. Now that you have that money, what do you do with it? A rule of thumb, if you're 20 years old, you should have at least $1,000 in savings. If you're 30 years old, you should have at least half of your annual income in savings, which is your emergency fund, more or less. So again, rule of thumb, at 20, you should have at least $1,000 in savings. By 30, you should have at least half of your income in savings. So see you next time when we talk about credit and credit cards.